Welcome to Inclusive Academia's deep dive into the Emory Oaks program at Emory University with the program's director, Matt Siegel. Can you please tell us a bit more about yourself and your background?
So my name is Matt Siegel. I am a psychologist at the Emory Autism Center. I've been here for 14 years at the Emory Autism Center, and I've been here my whole professional life and career. I'm a school psychologist by background and training, and I direct the education and transition services programs here at the Emory Autism Center, which are kind of a set or a collection of programs that are all about the intersection between learners with autism and their educational environment. So we do a lot of school-based consultation and training for kindergarten through high school and graduation. We have a really neat program that is dedicated to the transition planning process and transition programming to help high schoolers with autism and their families go through that transition process from adolescence into young adulthood and whatever's next.
Now, could you please dive a bit deeper into the Emory Oaks Autism Support Program at Emory University?
And then what we're here today for is to talk about Emory Oaks, which is the college autism support program at Emory University. So for the last decade or so, we've been delivering supports for autistic learners at Emory seeking a college degree. And then a few years ago, we had the good fortune of getting some initial seed funding and then an implementation grant to fully launch our program. And so we are now supporting 30 students with autism here at Emory. We've got a handful of students that are now at waitlist because we're already at capacity that quickly. And we love it. It's amazing. It's really incredible to be supporting so many more students than I think I thought we would here at Emory. And then beyond that, just getting to meet all of our students and being a part of their success and their journey and realizing that dream of creating a program that um, provides a welcoming space for our students so that some of the risks and challenges and so on that I'm sure we'll talk about over the course of our chat today feel less heavy, feel less isolating, feel less problematic. We can problem solve together and really get to the good work of celebrating successes and achieving goals and all that good stuff.
Can you please tell us a bit more about Emory University?
Yeah. So Emory's incredible. We have great faculty, of course, so much scholarly activity and so much research going on. We've got a really robust healthcare network and so on, and just really eager leaders and young people, and it's a really vibrant community in that way. The campus is absolutely beautiful, and so it's I think probably counts as like a medium size university. It's not large by any means, it's not small. Lots of professional schools and so on, School of Medicine, School of Law, School of Public Health, and the like. So it's great. We attract tons of talent, and there's great rigor here. My job really is around program development, program leadership, and delivering services and so on in that way. And so in that way, the Emory Autism Center functions very largely like something between a nonprofit and a private practice almost. But a few years ago, I had the good fortune of taking over a newly developed course here at Emory called Reflections on Neurodiversity. And so I've had the very good fortune of getting to teach that class and connecting more and more to our undergraduate campus and our students there. And it's been just the coolest thing that I think I've done, and I've done a lot of really cool things in my job and career here.
Emory sits in the heart of one of America's fastest growing cities, Atlanta, Georgia. Can you please tell us a bit more about the surrounding community?
And then to comment quickly on Atlanta, I'm from Baltimore originally, and My wife went to grad school here at Emory, and so she pulled me over here into Atlanta from Athens and to the Emory Autism Center, of course. And I love it. I didn't know that I was going to love Atlanta, but it is wonderful. The people are incredible. The food's amazing down here. It's sort of the right pace for my temperament and personality and so on. And there's lots of growth happening right now. So it's a great place to live and be. It is in town or inside the perimeter, as we say down here. It's in Decatur. So Decatur is a city in unto itself within kind of the Atlanta city limits. But it is in town, um, and not in the suburbs, although some folks that are particularly like urban city dwellers and so on sometimes experience Atlanta in ways that some of what is in town Atlanta feels a little bit suburban to them. So Atlanta is kind of designed in a more spaciousy, neighborhoody kind of way. This is just my opinion, but like less dense than other more traditionally urban cities like Washington D.C. Or New York, if those are meaningful comps to your viewers and listeners. But yeah, Emory's in the city, and then access to so much of the cool in city stuff.
What are some of the foundational principles of the Emory Oaks program?
Yeah, thank you for asking that and asking that in that way. You know, as a little bit of history for the design of the program, um, we began these supports with the awareness that there were some students that were contacting the Emory Autism Center because they were autistic college students that had experienced some form of crisis, challenge, failure, whatever it might have been. So like students that had to take a semester off of college, perhaps, or were on academic probation, or were experiencing some sort of mental wellness crisis or things of that nature. And so we sort of forwardly designed our services to help repair and get back to the business of being a college student and being successful in that way. Um, and so we kind of were built from something more of a counseling perspective and helping students develop their self-awareness and their self-determination skills, and also managing their stress and anxiety, and then problem solving and game planning and goal setting around connecting into university supports and networks and systems like social groups or clubs and things like that, or accessibility services, or um, other wellness resources or academic coaching, and all sorts of things that are really important in that way. And so that was sort of the foundations and design of how we began. Um, and one of the beautiful things about the grant funding that we received that allowed us to launch our program was that baked into the grant mechanism was the establishment of what we call in that grant a partnership, but I think commonly we'd use the term advisory board. And so we have this amazing, robust advisory board that includes quite a few autistic voices on the advisory board. And so in the structure of this grant, we got a lot of feedback from our autistic self-advocates and voices about sort of the stance and marketing, if you will, of our program. And the way I was describing things that was sort of born out of this sort of like repair from crisis and challenge and so on, really resonated to our advisory board members, and appropriately so, looking backwards at this, resonated as sort of a fix you program, as an intervention, as if you're broken, you can come to us kind of deal. And they pushed back and they said, no, no, that's not what we want, and that's not what your autistic students want. They want a program that is going to be welcoming, that's going to be a community, and that's going to partner with students to navigate the university, achieve goals, and access what will be sort of like a menu of supports and so on. And it was like this beautiful aha moment for us. And so the way I describe the program these days is that what we generally offer in a really specific way is a concept of support navigation. Um, We have a staff member that students that come to us can meet with on a regular basis, and regular basis can mean weekly. For many students, it means every other week. For some students, it might mean monthly. But students will meet with our support navigator at some regular time period, and we journey together to get to know each other really well, learn about our students' strengths and gifts and passions and why they're here in college and what they want to achieve in their career. And then together set goals that are all about having a thriving, flourishing, successful experience here at Emory. And sometimes those are academic in nature, sometimes they're social in nature, sometimes they're kind of personal and wellness and identity driven types of goals. Oftentimes they're career oriented goals. Whatever it might be, there's a wonderful opportunity at that stage in this concept to individualize. We're not setting goals for anyone. We're letting our students really drive the bus through their own self-determination to set their goals. And then our role really is about collaborating and partnering with our students and setting a plan and an action plan towards those goals and being a really active and engaged partner in accessing the resources or entities here at Emory or in the community to achieve those goals. So, for example, if a student needs to access our Department of Accessibility Services for academic accommodations, we are aware, we have great relationships with that office and partner with that office. But we're aware that students don't all the time have the easiest time of getting their accommodations and navigating through that process. And we're not just going to say, oh, that's a great idea, go reach out to our Department of Accessibility Services. We're going to do it in a collaborative and partnering way so that our students continue to feel supported, get some modeling about self-advocacy and so on. And then we're right there in lockstep with them to problem solve should we need to, advocate in addition if we need to, and so on. And that applies to finding a therapist. It applies to accessing executive coaching and executive functioning supports, social opportunities, research opportunities, career development things, and so on. So it really is this program where students come to us, we meet them where they are, we figure out what their goals and their interests are, and we go from that kind of person-centered, strengths-driven approach with things. The last thing I'll add, Matt, that's really important to us, and it's also in service to our grant that really kind of also again helped us launch here, is that and I'll quote my friend Lee Williams from the College Autism Network. Lee talks about college autism programs like Emory Oaks as holding space in the process of moving in, moving through, and moving on. So that transition to college, that experience during college, and then moving on to whatever might be next in terms of like career and jobs and employment and life and things like that. And our grant mechanism very concretely is about that moving on stage of things, that transition to employment, and recognizing that our data around employment outcomes for autistic adults and neurodivergent adults and so many adults with disabilities in general is unacceptably terrible and poor, and not where we all aspire it to be and need it to be, and where folks deserve it to be. And so that career development piece is incredibly important to Emory Oaks. And I think what we've learned in working with our learners over time is that that is also a developmental journey. Not everybody's has the same ideas about their career aspirations. That ties in with their assessment of their own identity and their strengths. We have the wonderful fortune, again, kind of thinking about our Emory community specifically, of working with really, really bright, driven students that a lot of them do have really concrete career aspirations. Many of them want to be lawyers or doctors or go on to some other professional career of many sorts. But even with that, our students still benefit from our partnership in accessing opportunities that are career development opportunities, but also just having that time to talk and reflect and consider that career development journey that I think many of us can relate to as sometimes a really isolating journey, right? Like it's not always baked into what we do as students and as learners. and having that opportunity to talk with someone and get advice and bounce ideas off of and then connect into things is a real gift and a real asset, I think, to our students. It's certainly something that we enjoy tremendously, and we're learning a lot. And again, we have wonderful partners here at Emory that have been such great collaborators and folks that we can connect students into, whether it's career services or other scholarships or pre-health advising and other advising and things like that. Um, I'm sure you learn this from lots of the folks around the country from these programs that you're speaking to, but our university campuses are amazing. They have so many of the tools and resources that our students need. The challenge oftentimes is that process of independently accessing those things. And I think that's another way of framing kind of what Emory Oaks does and holds space with, is that we collaborate with our students in such a way that it lowers the bar of access to these entities, and then allows folks to enjoy the great resources that are here at Emory.
Please explain in a little more detail how Emory Oaks partners with other departments at the university.
We do a lot of training and kind of awareness spreading. I think that we've remodeled our training in ways that's like not quite sort of like the just sit and listen to us tell you all about some topic kind of training, but our trainings are more like cross trainings, and we want to learn what your department does and thinks, and we're going to tell you a little bit about working with autistic learners and so on. And I like to say we make friends wherever we go around here, and just try to establish an ever more inclusive and welcoming community at Emory.
How do Emory students become part of Emory Oaks?
So the advantage of having a grant is that we got to open our doors wide open with no application process and no real admissions gatekeeping and barriers with things. So, for example, we do not require students to have an autism diagnosis to come get the supports from Emory Oaks. For those students in those situations, we are actively advocating for access to a diagnostic evaluation if that's what students want, and a kind of a more formal diagnosis and so on. But if a student identifies as being on the spectrum, then that's your green light in. Now, as our grant funding runs out, we've got to remodel and reconceptualize those things. There will be more of an application process and something of a more traditional, maybe screening process. We get referrals from basically you name it. The part of it that I think we're really, really proud of is that we've gotten a lot of like referrals by word of mouth from students. So students are having a good enough experience in our program that they're telling their friends and people that they know that are expressing either concerns or a desire for supports or whatever it might be to come our way. I think that couldn't be the better way to get a referral and so on. But folks are finding us through our website and through other lists and so on. And then, of course, we have our internal entities at the university, whether that's accessibility services or our Office for Undergraduate Education, and a number of other entities that will send students our way also.
What types of student traits are you typically looking for at Emory Oaks?
I think in lots of ways, if you've met the criteria to be a student here at Emory and you are an autistic learner and you want what we're offering, that's check, check, check. We're good to go with that. I think in the best case scenario, one of the things that we really do want is we want students to want to be part of Emory Oaks and it not to have been something that is forced upon them. But in those situations where the student themselves, it feels forced or it feels like not a fit, or they want to do things more independently than what our program model would suggest and so on. I think those are probably the moments where that's less of a good fit, and not a good use of their time or ours. We want to help folks that and support folks that are coming to us on their own terms and through their own desires and goals. I do think over time, as we may be forced with a less doors wide open approach, that having a formal diagnosis of autism will be entry or eligibility criteria. And for students that don't have that, but that identify as being autistic and have struggled to access an evaluation, I think I speak for Kelsey in saying our aim will be to figure out how to continue to support those students as well.
So, Emory Oaks is currently a free program for Emory students, correct?
That is correct. That is likely to change in not too long from now, and we will have a program fee. We do have the good fortune of having a relationship with Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency, which in our contract we are designated as a provider of a service called supported education. And so one of the pathways with this, Matt, from a funding and financial standpoint, is that we will support students in reaching out to GVRA and becoming eligible as a GVRA client for that support education service, so that then a big chunk of that program fee can get funneled to the program through GVRA, and not adding an extra cost on students and their families. So yeah, for the time being, we've been able to provide these supports at no costs at all to our students.
You and your colleague Kelsey Bulkey built and run Emory Oaks together. Can you tell us a bit more about what a typical day might involve?
And so in terms of day-to-day activities, I'll just sort of narrate for Kelsey's day-to-day in my own way with this, although I'm sure there's some inaccuracies with this. But she is meeting with students for support navigation meetings, um, doing some work in the way of outreach to campus entities where there might be some advocacy needed or problem solving or things of that nature. Um, and then we also have a student support group that Kelsey runs, where students it really much more of a kind of therapeutic venting space for students, if you will, that Kelsey facilitates and guides. And there's tons of other things that we do that kind of relate as service activities, if you will, including Kelsey teaches that reflection on neurodiversity course with me in the fall, and a number of activities. Both of us engage in training and outreach activities too.
You like to talk about a menu approach to services for Emory Oaks students. Can you please explain a bit more about the menu approach?
So in terms of the kind of deeper dive around our menu concept, like I said, it's really driven by student goals. So for example, students that have uh, kind of social engagement goals, we're going to understand from students exactly what that means. Does that mean joining a club that's sort of an interest-based club? Does that mean more just more friends and hanging out? Um, does it mean romantic relationships or anything along those lines? Um, and then again, we're going to develop some action plans and concrete steps with students, and in the next meeting, assess progress and assess where things are, and reset goals with things. So I think that's kind of what we mean by the menu. We're not going in our program operations, we're not going to assume that students do have social goals. They may or may not. And if they do, we're prepared and ready to connect and partner with them. And over time, we build more and more answers to the questions, so to speak. So we have other programs here at the Emory Autism Center that offer social engagement opportunities. We have a student organization at Emory that I'm the advisor of, and opportunities there. Sometimes social actually translates more into leadership opportunities, so we help connect students in that way. So it could be social, it could be career, it could be personal goals. It's obviously academics and the like. So it just depends on the nature of things. Many of our students are looking for ever better ways to kind of manage their time, set goals, prioritize things, stay on task and track and so on. And so those executive functioning skills and goals. As you well know, Matt, I think can be really rangy. We do have academic coaching here at Emory, but sometimes the provision of a mentor or a study buddy or something along those lines is the trick. And then the other thing too that because Kelsey and I have been doing this work for a long time, we do our own teaching in these sessions as well. So I'll model some executive functioning skills and strategies and so on, or organizational tools, and we'll work on those things together. Or we'll do some social emotional processing together in a session. And even though it's not a tried and true therapy session, I have a hard time taking off my therapist and counselor and psychologist hat in those sessions, and we'll address some of those goals too. And I think one of the things that we're really good at and is really meaningful and important to us and certainly to our students is tackling things from a positive identity space and being really supportive around identity and intersectionality and making sure that our students understand and know and feel that we are safe and knowledgeable folks, that we're non-judgmental, and that when we move towards goal setting, we're not setting goals because there's something wrong with you, but it more that there's a thing that you want out there. There's a milestone or an achievement or an opportunity, and these become pathways towards that. So that's again kind of another way of kind of looking at our menu of things, is that I think we really embed a lot of kind of social, emotional, and identity driven things within our meetings and sessions for our students, so that they really you know develop that internalized identity and positive self-esteem that allows them to feel confident to access new resources on their own, or make friends, or initiate a new opportunity on their own.
Why do you feel the transition to college is so difficult for some students?
There's so much of, I think, what is challenging about the adult environment, the college environment, is that there's this element of uh, forced independence too early, right? It's like, oh, you can go do that, but just do it on your own. You can schedule an appointment, you can do this, and so on. And um, I know my belief is that that requirement to be so on your own, one, is forced on folks way too early. I think certainly for folks with developmental disabilities and developmental delays, I think that holds space. But I think in general, as a culture, I think we force some of those things too early. And then there's that pressure and anxiety of not knowing what to do and how to do it, and am I going to get it wrong? And if you have a set of experiences where someone's made to feel like you've done it wrong, who wants to go through that ever again? And so I think that's another element of where Emory Oaks holds some space, is that we're not going to make folks feel like they have to do things all on their own before they want to or before they're ready, and that we're here to support them, and that there's not some sort of risk of like dependency or not learning things yet and so on. We're developmental in nature, and we trust that our students, when they are safe and comfortable and ready and empowered and feeling self-efficacy around all that, they're going to do things on their own, of course, but we're not going to make them before it's necessary, and we see no threat in partnering with them in those ways.
What housing options are available to Emory Oaks students?
On the housing side, again, from like a support navigation standpoint, we are right there with our students to try to advocate for housing accommodations if that's what students want and need, and so on. Um, so that tends to be where, on the housing side of things. From the residence life side of things, again, we will help students identify goals if they have goals related to living with a roommate or residence life in one way or another, even sort of like the adulting side of residence life, and come up with plans and actions around that. We do maintain an internal small advisory board, and we've got great representation from residence life and in that board that's incredibly helpful from a access and advocacy standpoint. I do expect that that's an arm of our program that will indeed grow over time, because as I imagine you're thinking about, Matt, we think about this too.
And can you please touch on your approach for supporting students' academic goals?
From the academic side of things, again, the way we generally operate our program is connecting into existing resources and supports with that. So as far as like things like tutoring and writing center go, or the academic coaching and the like, we our model and our role has been to forge relationships with those entities on campus, um, offer the opportunity to kind of meet and do what I was describing earlier as sort of like cross training. We want to learn how their services operate. We want to share how ours do. We want to learn how we can send students to those supports and services, and the best pathways for kind of warm handoffs, if you will. How would they like us to send referrals and connect students to their services? And likewise, how we'd like folks to send students our way, because obviously, let's just go with the Writing Center as an example. The Writing Center may be meeting with a student who identifies as autistic but doesn't know about Emory Oaks. So how can they send students our way for accessing those support navigation services and so on? And then anytime that any of those entities would like more deep dive concrete trainings about best practices and strategies in supporting autistic learners on a college campus, and all sorts of things like that, we jump for joy at those outreaches. We love doing that, and really have it's very rewarding, I'll say, to engage with units and entities for that purpose. And so, I think that's it's kind of part of the community building and sort of the village building around here. And we get a lot of joy and satisfaction over building new things if we don't have them. So one of the things I think we probably will build over time, but if not yet had the opportunity to, is I think as if our staff grows, I think we will have executive functioning supports and coaching in sort of like our expertise side of things for students that might want to access those resources in that way differently. We don't have that built out just yet, but I could totally see that happening. Same thing for certain life skills and independent living skills and adulting skills, as we like to use the term these days. So those are things that are on the horizon and down the line for our program. But I've long been really impressed with our community at Emory and all of the available resources here for them, and our opportunity to help make those services and supports and entities feel more accessible and more welcoming for our students, and tackling things that way. And we've really enjoyed really excellent success with that approach.
Tell us a bit more about the Autism Month celebrations you have on the Emory campus each April.
So every April, we put on, in partnership with our student organization and a number of other faculty and staff and students throughout the university, we put on a series of events to celebrate autism and neurodiversity and community build. And we have an autistic student panel that we put on, and a research symposium, and some really fun student-driven kickoff events, and keynotes and things like that. And it's been really fun to create and build something here that really resonates with the community and grows, and we get great feedback about it. So I appreciate all the questions and the opportunity to brag and be a little self-congratulatory and talk about the cool things that we've built here. It's really fun for us, and it puts a spotlight on our students who are so amazing and incredible.
Thank you to Matt Siegel and the Emory Oaks program. For more information on Emory Oaks, please visit the URL below, and remember to subscribe to our channel to get more episodes of Inclusive Academia.